So this is our after show where I just wanted to like dive a little deeper about, I'll start with you, Sarah, because you've been doing it a little bit longer. Why did you get involved with Kulshan Land Trust?
Well, I was invited to a fundraiser pre-COVID from a good friend of mine that has been a long-term supporter.
Okay.
And so that was my first introduction to Land Trust model and what they did. And I'll be honest, even after the fundraiser was over, I wasn't completely clear on how things worked. It's like, well, that's confusing, but it seemed like it was a really good cause. And then it was actually during COVID. And my background is in corporate banking, as you know, Andy. I worked for a team down in Seattle, but I was when my family relocated here, I started to work remotely, and I took I started to kind of quietly retire with COVID.
Yeah,
and was stepping away from that career, and former colleague of mine, Nicole Walker, was president of the board for Kulshan, and she just met with me and said, I have 3 children and was pretty involved with just what it takes to raise 3 children at the time. But she's like, you need an outlet for your mind, so you need to join this board. And
that's how they reel you in.
Yeah,
it's for your own good.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how it all started. And I just got really, I dug really, with my involvement with the LLC board, it required that I dig in very deeply into how the subsidies worked and how, what Kulshan's mission and how they were executing on that mission and all of those things and who our partners were. It just required that I understand it at a much deeper level than I think you would normally get to as a board member, because I was the spokesperson for the partnership on the board.
Right. So you had to actually know what you were going to say.
Yes. Yes. And so we had our executive director resigned. We started the search for his replacement, and he gave us 6 months, but we had a hard time finding the right fit for all the reasons. It was also kind of like, we were searching for a unicorn, because we really were looking for somebody with nonprofit management experience and development experience. Yeah. And that's a very unique
don't all go
combination
together necessarily.
And we were acknowledging that we may not find that exact person, but we had hopes. And the first person we offered the position to decided that she was going to be taking a leave of absence from work for family reasons. So she did not come to join us. And then so we went back and did another search. And that is when Rose finally decided that she would apply for the job, because it was kind of all out there that this would be the perfect candidate, but she wasn't quite in the place where she was ready to commit to the idea yet. And so she came around and we found our unicorn.
You found the unicorn. What changed your mind? Why did you decide to apply there?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I had been working for Sustainable Connections for 12 years and had a really great family there and loved the work and the mission, and was felt like that organization was going through a lot of transitions as well, and so wanted to be there for that stability piece for the organization that has taken such good care of me and the community. I had been really Kulshan adjacent for a long time, so I had, prior to working for Sustainable Connections, worked in residential development. So I was a project manager for about 8 years, working on co-housing projects and other types of residential development. But so my background is urban planning, but when I was in development, I really got into green building, and so kind of transitioned from more of an urban planner to a sustainable design and development consultant. And at that time, Kulshan had started to do, they did their first development project, and So I worked with them on their LEED certifications and some of the sort of green building things that go along with that. Dean, the former executive director, he was actually at the Restore at the time. So we had worked on the Building Industry Association has a Built Green program. We had worked on that together. And then I moved to Sustainable Connections, where I was their Green Building and Smart Growth Program Manager when I started. And their Mathi Place development, Kulshan's Mathi Place development in Fairhaven, is sort of it's a gold standard gem of great, compact, awesome development, right? So there's 14 homes on half an acre. I think it's half an acre. It's a really great project, and it features low impact development, all that stuff. So I was always leading tours at Kulshan's site, and then just having been on different boards and things. So Kulshan was always sort of in my purview, and saw it as such a critical part to sort of how nonprofit employees get stability. So I at Sustainable Connections, we had at least 6 different employees were Kulshan Community Land Trust homeowners. That just being around and knowing what an impact that Kulshan was making on our staff's life was really cool. So because I did have the nonprofit leadership and development experience, board members, their former executive director, everybody had been calling me and asking me to make the application and take the job. The other thing was that my dad is terminal right now. And so at Sustainable Connections, I knew that I could take a long leave of absence and that I would have the grace, of time, and knew that taking on Kulshan Community Land Trust, I'd want to be really involved and engaged, and didn't want to take the job and then leave right away.
Right.
When my dad found out that I was not taking a job because he is sick, he got very upset.
As dads do, right?
Yeah. So once I sort of had the when my dad gave me a stern talking to about a professional career and advancing a mission and an organization that could really use my help, that's when I decided I would do it.
So it was your dad.
Yeah. He
was
sure.
the tipping scale to say, hey,
oh, absolutely,
go do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. That is cool that that's one of the, I think that's a great story too, because it shows that relationship with your dad of your care for him, but then as a dad, right? I see that, right? As a dad, you see something in your kids and you see what they're great at and how they can impact things, and then pushing them and helping them to go do that. That's really cool. What do you guys, well, you might actually have an answer for this, because even though you've only been in your position for 6 months, you've been around Kulshan for a while. Can you guys think of like a story, one of the things that sticks out to you, somebody's story that this impacted and changed their lives, changed their family, changed?
There's so many. There are so many good ones.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to be sure to explain that the thing that makes Kulshan a community land trust is that 1/3 of our board is made up of homeowners. And so homeowners are actually at the helm of making the decisions around how the land trust moves forward.
So the Kulshan homeowners, 1/3 of the board is Kulshan homeowners.
Yes. And so I don't know if you have a specific story you wanted to share.
Well, do you have one?
I mean, I do, but you might have a better one.
I don't know. I mean, there is so many. But we just did a fundraiser on Valentine's Day, and a friend of mine who many years ago, this was a gal who was married, had a kid. They both had jobs. They they were friends of ours. Our kids played together, and her husband got into an accident and then got addicted to opiates, and their life fell apart. And she ended up a single mom and struggling. She was a child care provider, so not making a ton of money, but working really hard, long days, and I just watched her move in and rent rooms in houses of other people. And then she had finally landed in this tiny apartment. And I went over one day just to check in on her. And she was just trying so hard to put on a brave face for her kid, and was like, this is what we can afford. And I hope that they just don't raise the rent because this is all I can do. And trying to make the best of it. And I was at work one day, and Kulshan had a flyer for a house that they were putting up for resale. And I sent her a link and was like, you should apply for this. You might qualify. And she didn't think she would, so she didn't pay attention to me. And then I went back over to her house a couple days later, and I was like, no, really, you should do the thing. She did, and she got the house. And she's now, her daughter is getting a full ride scholarship to UW.
Oh, wow.
She's in getting her graduate degree up at Western. It's like the stability and having this home ownership has changed her life completely.
That's awesome.
So that's one story, and it's, it happens to be that it was a personal friend of mine. But I have lots of friends that have been Kulshan Community Land Trust homeowners, and all of them have a story.
For sure.
I was on the job for just a few weeks when we did our first resale, and the new owners were in the office and, just crying when they got the keys, and there was not a dry eye in the office. You like to see that, the power that that this family was going to get is so moving. So I knew right then that I was in the right role and doing the right job.
Yeah, it is powerful. It's impactful to take somebody from feeling, I don't know if something changes, I don't know what we're going to do, right? If they raise the rent 10%, I don't know what I'll do, to create that stability. And daughter goes to college, and she's single moms are the poorest class in America. It's very difficult. And so it's really cool. That's going to be like rewarding to be part of that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I know it firsthand. I was a single mom, and fortunately, I bought the house when my daughter was 6 months old, and so I was able to buy a house for $145,000. My house is now worth $700,000, right?
Right.
And if it wasn't for getting in at that time, I don't know what would have happened. But
right.
The fact that we were able, my daughter was able to walk to schools, and I trusted my neighbors, and she was often roaming neighbors' homes, but I always knew that she was in good hands because I knew who they were.
Right, you got to know your neighbors because there's
right.
stability there.
Yeah,
because the neighbors aren't always moving every 6 months to a year.
For better or worse, most of them have had to live next to me for 20, 25 years.
Sometimes I feel bad for my neighbors. All right, they're like, "Thank you, you guys are very kind."
Yeah.
So,
well, I think it's just that owning a home provides such a foundational level of security that it then frees up that headspace and energy where a lot of homeowners will say that now I was able to contribute to my community. I was able to go back and give.
right.
One of our longest and most vocal supporters has been the Representative Alex Rammel, who was a Kulshan homeowner. And so he has come and spoken at a lot of our events and said how being a Kulshan homeowner gave him the ability to then launch into the career that he is in now.
That's cool. Yeah, it is. I think that's a really good way to put it. We don't always think about it, but just the headspace of knowing there's stability. As an adult, also as a child, right? As you're growing up in a home that has stability versus a home that you don't know where are we going to be, what's going to happen. To just have that. It's interesting. I was just thinking about it. We have some friends that they moved around a lot. And my wife and I, we bought our house 25 years ago. And we've lived in the same house for 25 years. And we went through a period of time where we were thinking of selling it and moving because we were like, oh, maybe we ended up not. We just remodeled it instead. But I would call them my niece because we're so close, but because we've been friends with their family for 30 years. But they were like, you can't move. You can't sell the house. Like that's like the stability that it creates in people to have like, this is a place that's always there. This is the home you can always walk into. And that isn't changing constantly. Yeah, I think it does. It completely changes the way you think about things. It changes your own view of the world, and it changes your stress level, which then allows you to engage into other things when you're not worried about something. So it's interesting, like how that stability really impacts a lot, and how you can break that cycle by simply helping people get into homes is so cool. I don't know. I got excited the more I learned about what you guys are doing, and then the more research I was doing about how homeownership affects families and affects crime rates and affects economic opportunities. I was like, man, like that's when you look at the problems in society, like a lot of it stems from the fact that we can't get people into homes. So.
Yeah, people's happiness is directly correlated to their connections with other people. Mm-hmm. And when you have that stability and you're secure and you're in your same home for 25, 30 years, you build that community around you and it increases your happiness. And right. So I like to think we're just making happy people.
What makes you, I'm sure it's got to make you guys happy too, to see those stories come to life. So. Yeah.
We had one homeowner who was one of the first homeowners in Kulshan resell his home at the end of 2024. After 20 years, he walked away with $170,000. So that felt like that's
a win.
That's better than having given it all away to a landlord.
And his payment was probably like $800 a month.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, you have to consider that other piece of it. It's
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and that's not nothing, right? Like we talked about in the last segment, you can rent someplace for 10 years and then you leave. They don't give you a rebate for what you paid in rent. They're like, thanks for being a good renter. Here's half of it back. Yeah. Like, you don't get any of it. So that's not nothing to walk away with $170,000 on a house that was below, that he was able to afford, that he couldn't have afforded something else.
That's right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and some people will be like, well, are you short-sighting these people by not letting them gain the equity that they would be able to in the regular market? And that's not a comparable. It's more renting to Kulshan home ownership, right? And in that case, you're miles ahead.
Right. Because if you can afford to go buy a market value home, and then you can get market value returns on it, then go do it.
Great.
And you shouldn't be in the Kulshan.
That's right. And if they were to be able to sell it at market, that takes away the affordability, like the permanent affordability component of what we're trying to do. It just it doesn't make that home affordable for the next person. So you can't have it both ways. You either can.
Right. You can't build affordable housing. I think that's actually what makes it kind of unique and makes it sustainable in the long run of having affordable housing, is you have to lock in what the gains are. If you just say go sell it for market rate, you have one person that you've helped.
Right.
But which isn't nothing, but if you say no, we're gonna cap that, now you've helped people for generations. Now you've helped 20 people, 30 people over the lifespan of that property. Be able to get into affordable housing.
Yep.
So, Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to come and discuss with me. And I look forward to watching your guys' stuff grow. I'm going to pay a lot more attention to Kulshan Community Land Trust now.
Well, and we're having a fundraiser next month. So if you or anyone you know is interested, tickets are on sale on our website.
So tickets, when is the fundraiser?
May 14th.
May 14th?
At the Yacht Club.
Okay.
It'll be a delicious dinner provided by Story Kachina. And tickets are only $25.
Oh, see, even your tickets are affordable.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
Well, how many tickets are available still?
Plenty of tickets.
Plenty of tickets.
Yeah,
I actually have some extras if you want. I have some extras.
What do I need to do to sign up?
You just tell me you want the ticket, and I'll hold them for you.
I want two.
Okay, great.
We'll come to it.
Awesome. Thank you. I love that.
And so go to the website. I'll throw Cole, our producer, under the bus and make sure that he can do it. So we'll put a link. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll put a link inside of our description to your guys' website so people can go buy tickets. If you're not watching on YouTube, go find Kulshan Land Trust. If you're in Whatcom County, go to their website and buy tickets and go to the fundraiser because it's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.